Yo, Coach Jenkins, welcome back
Up.
to another episode of 𝗕𝗲 𝗖𝗄𝗃. I'm Tommy. She's Robbie. Obviously, you can tell by the freaking, name tags on there, right? But we're not gonna mess that up at least to the end, so I can catch her off guard. Um, hold on, give me a second. My one of my headphones died, pretty janky. Um, but what have you been up to lately?
Rep, man. 8 days out.
8.
Eight.
Are you nervous?
8. Yeah, I'm nervous. What kind of question is that? It's
You don't get
it's
shaken
one of
up.
those it's one of those things. I mean, it's good. I'm the way that I look at it is if I'm nervous, that it means that I care.
Mm-hmm. See that?
Um and so like I'm excited. I'm doing everything that I can do,
Mm-hmm.
So outside of the variables that I can't control, like we'll be solid. It's one of those things, man. It's like I've been at this since 2019 seriously now, and it's just like I'm ready for my year. Like I'm ready for him to call my number.
That's it. That's it.
So,
Putting in that work. Question: is there any feedback or anything that you hear? Any feedback when you talking to Mike?
um, no, I don't
Okay,
really hear
cool.
anything now. No.
All right, I get it.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
I probably just need
There
to
was
turn my
something there.
volume down a little bit. You hear it now?
Um, no, I don't hear anything.
All right,
Yeah,
dope.
still don't hear anything. We're
So
good.
the topic of today's podcast is outlasting the winter and New Year, New Me trend. And so I came up with this podcast because you know how I am. I just get tired. Like I'm tired of like fake, phony, do it for the gram. I'm getting in there. Like I got some homies. Like I'm like, bruh, just stay in the gym. Like stop trying to be He-Man and breaking your back every year, and like not being disciplined enough to stay in there. Cause like you only fooling yourself. But I think there's also this like tie-in of when they post, they get the good feeling endorphins, but they never did anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you
Hmm.
first, I don't know, when you first got ROTC, you first got that uniform, you put it on, like, oh yeah, I'm, I'm in the army now, but like, you realize,
You
nah,
walk
dog,
outside and you see your first enlisted person walking around, and then they screw you up, and you're like, man, I don't want to wear this out here no more.
exactly right.
That's how I
Like,
was.
so my question is, have you ever gotten caught up in the like new year, new me, like I'm about to get in a gym thing, like early on, or like were you always like super consistent?
um, so I mean, I wouldn't say that I was super consistent. I think the difference that I had with my fitness journey is it stemmed from a place that had a greater why than, it's because it's the new year and this is what I'm supposed to do and this is what everyone else is doing. Uh, that the why has obviously changed and developed and transformed, but like initially, I used to be very, very insecure. I wasn't super strong. I didn't like the way that I looked. I struggled with basically being, there. I remember the day that I stepped on a scale and broke 140 pounds. I was a junior in high school, and my oldest sister was in the kitchen and she saw it and she was like, "Damn, fat ass." And that set me off. And
Oh shit.
I went, oh yeah, I went down a really unhealthy rabbit hole for a while where I was doing that thing where like I didn't eat and I just started running and I made it as an excuse to like because I wanted to be healthy. Well, realistically, I was in an eating disorder. I was running 4 to 7 miles a day and then eating probably like 400 calories and um eventually I saw my best friend, her dad was actually a bodybuilder back in the day. And so he was kind of the one that initially introduced me to it. And then I had a professor in college that got me actually competing in it. Um, but I went out in the gym and I saw this magazine and there was this woman on it and she was like 23, 24, but she was like 5'3" and she weighed like 128, 130 pounds and she looked great. And not only did she look great, but like she was pushing a lot of weight. She was moving things like 3 times as big as she was. And, I had this moment and I was like, man, like I want to look like that. And it actually ended up being really cool because when my fitness journey started, I had to do a speech class for college, and I did a speech on this event called Try Fitness. And it had like a little bit of like a bodybuilding portion to it, but it was like an obstacle course and a bunch of other stuff that I thought about trying. Um, so I actually reached out to her when I was preparing for my speech to see if I could interview her, and she replied, and we actually talked about this. And this is when she told me, she's like, the only way that you're going to get yourself started is just to invest and start doing it. She was like, if you wait for the perfect time, it's not going to happen. And so really, when I got into this whole entire journey in the first place, I wasn't waiting on a Monday. I wasn't waiting for the new year. I talked to this woman that I saw on a magazine cover, and she was like, you just have to go in and do it. And so then that's exactly what I did. And then obviously you fast forward, about 10 years, and here I am. So hopefully be walking off stage a pro bodybuilder and being on to the next goal of getting to the Olympia. So.
Well, and that's pivotal. It's a pivotal thing you saying that, because like I used to say, oh yeah, Monday, get in there, and like tell myself, I'm gonna work out on Monday, I'm gonna reset. And I think it's important for like the listeners to understand that I'm empathizing with them here. Like this is me talking to me when I bring this up, because as much as, we try to hold, other people accountable, we have to hold ourselves accountable as well. And it's one of those things where, coach, like it's huge, because when you stop looking at the Mondays and it just becomes what you do, any day can be the day where you kind of start breaking barriers mentally. And you're like, you know what? I don't, and it becomes a lifestyle. It's like, you know what? And you start talking to yourself. You're like, you know what? Tommy doesn't care about if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because Tommy comes up with a plan. And when you plan, you really can't fail. But there are things that you may not accomplish that you're looking forward to. But once you start getting that battle rhythm and you're like, this is what I do, you ain't going to need nobody else to hold you down. And that's the thing, is like, when it comes down to the partner thing, you're going to have people, you're going to have variables that come up. But like some of the greatest breakthroughs I've ever had were like when I got off the highway and I was driving, 3 hours back home or what, from home, shout out to Carbondale. But those were some of the greatest breakthroughs I ever had in the gym, because not only was I opening up my body to, retrain it and make it stronger, but like my mind was like, dude, you know what the heck you just did? And like that kind of that Goggins, who's going to carry the boats? It's like you kind of become a monster. Like I want people to understand, like with this winter, the new year, new me trend, create your monster now.
Yep.
So by the time everybody else starts getting after it, you've been getting after it. And when they stop getting after it, this is a lifestyle for you. It's a lifestyle. Like I'm looking like I was looking at some of my posts. I'm like, dude, this was you 3 years ago. And when you create that resume of consistency, it goes into every other parameter in your life becomes consistency. You're like, you know what? I can tackle this in the gym. I can also tackle limiting my drinks of alcohol and different things like that when I go out into an environment. And it becomes this challenge. You're like, okay, well, if I can do that, maybe I can do a little bit of this, because I think this also ties into finance. I got a finance podcast series that's going on as well, but it's one of those things where when you start getting intentional with your dollars and everything else, like all these things, all this discipline transfers to the rest of your life, because you got a clothing brand, right? So it's like all of these things come together and just become this amazing portfolio of how you live your life. And other people will start to see that. And they'll ask questions. And one of the greatest things that I've ever done, coach, was be silent. And I know it's hard for people to understand because they see me on this podcast talking way too much. But like silence is an answer. And people will open up to you. They'll talk to you. They'll tell you about their struggles. And then next time you interact with that person, you kind of mention something a little bit. Hey, brother, how's this going on? Hey, dear, what's going on with this? And that means the world to people, because in COVID and just like everything is weird now. Like people don't communicate like they used to, especially if it's not a cell phone glued or welded to their arm. Like people actually crave regular, legitimate conversation. And just being in the gym, being consistent, spilled over to like food and stuff like that. Now I'm taking boxing lessons. Like it's just, and it also helps me understand that like it makes you ask the question, like, what if I started tomorrow? What would my next week, next month, and the next year look like? And so this leads into, because I've been, this morning I switched up my pre-workout to I went with the creatine added. So what says the coach about what is creatine? Can you explain that and break that down to us in layman's terms?
Yeah, so creatine is basically a compound in the body. It's naturally made in the body that you find in the muscle. And the body uses it as fuel for physical exercise. Now it's used mainly in basically the body's energy system that supports power movements. So
Okay.
you're talking 10 seconds or less, you're talking your weight, more like weightlifting, powerlifting, fast explosive movements, things that are very, very short endurance in nature. Now you can get creatine from your diet. It's found, obviously, like it's in the muscles, so therefore it's found in meat. And really, it's something that, like in my opinion, if you're a beginner, I would much rather you focus on like laying a good foundation first, because no amount of supplements are ever going to do anything for you like just a good, solid, consistent foundation and hard work. But once you hit that like kind of intermediate and you really want to take things to the next level, I mean, there's plenty of people out there. I mean, they even recommend that, I think it's like 5 grams of creatine, like is not like, it's a good thing.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah, that's legit. Because it's funny. People see creatine is so mass marketed that like people get stuck in kind of this, oh, I need the creatine. I'm like, dog, right now the only thing you create is a placebo effect. Because you don't even drink enough water for that creatine to actually be effective for you, brother. Like your diet's not on point. Like I'm like, so
It really is just, yeah, it really, you just, I said everything when it comes to performance, because I wouldn't, it's not like a performance enhancing drug is like an anabolic steroid or something like that, but it's still a performance enhancing supplement. And so again, anything like that, that's still your cherry on top. It's
mm,
not the banana of the banana split. So
that's huge. I like that analogy. It's the cherry on top. Like, a lot of these things like that people recommend are the cherry on top. It still
yep,
doesn't, go into and make way for this one. So anyway,
adds
this
a
is
good finishing touch.
yeah. So cherry on top. This has been another 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗏
Ugh.
podcast. I'm Tommy,
I'm Robbie.
and this is 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗏 Fitness Simplified. We appreciate y'all. Tap into the next episode.
Yeah.